Presenting team Raise Your Edge.
Yeah, one of the new teams to the scene.
Do you know Raise Your Edge?
It's the poker, isn't it?
Yeah, Poker Masterclass. One of the best ones, if not the best one.
Ooh, and immediately starting this game, we have Zest with an immediate probe scout that goes through his natural. But Reynor, upon seeing that, it's like, I've played against this one too many times in my life, and just goes immediately to that third. But that already puts the Zerg in a little, like, not so great position. If you want to transfer drones to that third, it's a bit more tricky. It also opens up the potential for those earlier depths to be a bit more nifty getting to that third base.
Hey, if anything, I guess if we had to pick, like, you know, a single mistake, in game number 2 of Reynor against Showtime, he didn't really see those oracles coming and stuff, so it feels like he's going to have to be maybe a little bit more on point here against the Zest, who's looked pretty incredible himself. You know, there's always that extra motivation you get when you join a new team, but that goes for both of these guys, as Reynor just joined Clash as well. You always want to, like, you know, represent to the fullest, put on a good performance, and show them that they made the right choice. I mean, with these guys, those teams certainly did.
So far, it's really, really good for both of them. I mean, these guys are hot pickups right now. Going into this match, though, one thing that's really come together for Reynor as a player, for a long time in the foreign scene, we all saw Serral as by far the very best Zerg, just because he had it all. He was very well-rounded, he was aggressive when he needed to be, he could also play the late game. Reynor, on the other hand, we all looked at him and it was like, he's obviously good at the start and the middle, but when it comes to the later game, he kind of wasn't as good as Serral. But I think that's one of the things that he's really focused on and paid a lot of attention to in himself, because he is no stranger to the late game anymore. The fact that he controls the map like he does, but he's also learned how to use all the units that he was kind of not so sure about using. So just that level of confidence that he has in his own ability, it's great to see.
Hey, he mastered all of the transitions and just scouting, knowing for which units to go for at what time, the level of aggression. He, like, even though he's attacking all the time and doing Zergling attacks, you never see Reynor go for like a really bad attack or a really bad fight. That very rarely happens. It feels like this group is already kind of crazy, because Su is 0-2, by the way, in it, which I don't think anyone really expected.
No, it's certainly not dropping so easily to Armani, I suppose. I know it was quite a close series between those two, but that is not how the previous champion wanted to start off this group. Now, going into this game, we do have a Twilight Council and a Robo. I know Zest a long time ago liked to resort to Oracle openings and such, but here in this tournament so far, he's been a massive fan of the Adept plays. And Zest, I've never known him as a player that's had like a huge array of builds in his arsenal, but he's liked the builds that he does a lot, and he always does them really well.
He kind of perfected like some very aggressive styles and builds. Like, I remember specifically against Terran, like, he always opened Blink and played pretty aggressive, but at the same time was ready with the defense. Against Zerg, for a long time, he was one of the better Protosses that would play with a lot of Stalkers and a lot of Sentries for Force Field. So he's kind of a bit of a specialist in that regard, with very few specific builds, and relies a lot on his execution and micro in particular.
And Reynor's, he's a smart guy, so he's probably been looking into what Zest has been doing in the previous games, and so far, he's got a reasonably early Roach Warren. We do have Adepts on the field and the Warp Prism. Now it's a big deal about finding out what he's up against, and seeing these Adepts in the Warp Prism, Zest, he had to drop them because he doesn't want these links breaking down his wall, but now Reynor knows what's up. He starts making Roaches pretty darn early. He's getting this creep spread out. Hopefully for him, he doesn't take too much damage.
If that Roach Warren had been delayed a little bit more here, that would have been very bad for Reynor, because this is a scary attack that's coming up here. There's going to be so many Adepts with Glaives. They attack extremely fast, even if you have units in position. Drones can start dying left and right. And Zest is looking to try and use the distance between all of the bases here to shade back and forth, force the units to be in the wrong spot and start killing drones. But so far, Reynor was in a good enough position to push those back. And I like the move by Zest, very mature, to just pull back, say, okay, I've lost the shields. I need to wait a little more here, force more units out of you. In the meantime, I'm still making a ton of probes.
Yeah, and so far right now, he's pushing in with these Adepts, just making Reynor's life difficult. And if you're wondering, why aren't all his units here? Well, he threatened with the Shade going to the natural base, which is going to be a big power play by Zest, warping in so many Zealots here. A few drones do start going down, but oh, and he shades into the natural, but there's no drones there. This is a really good catch by Reynor. Yeah,
Reynor managing this pretty well so far. He's only lost the 3 drones. Obviously, Zest in the meantime has made a ton of probes. He's on 42 walkers to 33. What a build.
It is really good, but Reynor so far, I think he's handling it pretty darn well. Like, he's even droning up at this point. He's not worried about the next wave of the attack. He's respecting it, but he's not scared of it. And now he's actually catching up in that work account. Also, I gotta say, I love the fact that he hasn't just kind of tried to overdrone this base. He's been like, okay, that's obviously a weak point. That connects the third and the main base. It's the middle meeting ground for the Adepts to shade. And he was like, no, 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 no. I know how to defend against this. I leave my natural, not mining too much, and I don't take too much damage. And so far, he's handled this very well.
Yes, they're still looking to try and be aggressive here with the one prism and few units in it. Kind of supply blocking a little bit here, Reynor, for some time. Even pushing back the creep here is very, very nice because it's not like too hard to do. He had the one observer in position, and in the meantime, he's going to go into a forge. The third base is well on the way. Reynor, as soon as he saw that he had pretty much defended, the Adept attack went into lair tech. So he didn't rush that too early. Like, he really respected that attack, and now he's building up his work account very nicely up to 52 before going into more units. You never really know, what follow-up is going to come. It's very hard to scout in the meantime. Doesn't really have an overlord on the other side of the map. So he's being very careful right now.
Beautiful pull away with those roach, or rather the drones there. Leaving the roaches at the third base as well, because there are those two sneaky Adepts on the left side of this base ready to run in at any moment. But we have to give Zest credit. Behind all this, he's taken a third base. So even though it has been a full committal by him, it's not an all-in by any means. It's just a lot of pressure. The thing is, Reynor's just dealt with everything so darn well so far. And this Warp Prism, found a nice dead spot there and gets out of trouble.
And again, Reynor pulled the drones out of there, got the perfect defense here. He's really minimized the amount of drones that he allowed to die here in this game. Zest, in the meantime, is going to a lot of Immortals. He's built up a bit of a sentry count. I think we can already kind of see what's going to come next.
And that's a lot of gateways on the way as well there, Todd. Even more sentries joining. Blink and +1 being upgraded, even more Immortals. He's not getting gases on that third base either.
I guess he's going to attack the third base maybe through the rocks that are above it. Just a little bit of, maybe through the left side here or even above there, like if he kills those rocks and then goes through.
Yeah, one advantage that he has had is the fact that he has been attacking so much, so he knows the location of where his valuable buildings are and such. And the Roach Warren being over here, if you could potentially stop roaches entirely by killing that Roach Warren, this could be a nice spot to attack from.
Yeah. Clear reconstitution will have completed before, but yeah, like especially if Reynor doesn't anticipate that and remake the Roach Warren in advance, all you have to do is just kind of sit there while the opponent is only able to make links, which usually are not going to be great against a pretty big army with sentries, Immortals, Stalkers.
Oh, and the push is coming, and he's going right down to the bottom of the map. This Warp Prism's been annoying, and he's been microing well with the Immortals. They still have full health, so going into this big attack, which is going to consist of a lot of Stalkers. Reynor, he smells this coming, though. He hasn't droned past 62, equal with the Protoss, and he's just making pure battle units at this point.
Gonna try and go for a counter-attack. The wall is open. That's Reynor for you. He always finds those little things here.
And this is really bad for Zest. He doesn't want to be wasting Warpins back at home. Zergling's in the main base, in the natural, and he's losing a lot of probes. Has to warp in Zealots at home, and he just runs away. He's going to go back to the natural. Yes, there's some Stalkers here, but they do not fare super duper well. And the Lings, he's focusing down the probes as well while defending back at home.
And Reynor already kills so many probes that Zest is going to have to go all in. All Reynor has to do here is hold against this attack, and he's going to be fine. He's going to try and delay the fight a little bit. He has so many Ravagers here to break those force fields. Try and land some corrosive bites on top of this army, but he might just... I don't know, I don't think he can evacuate his base. He has to make a stand here, maybe pull the drones in a second and try and hold on. Still finding damage on the other side.
This is crazy. He's still got a lot of Ravagers, but he has to remake his Roach Warren during this attack. And I mean, that is still a healthy amount of Stalkers. And given that Zest knows that he can't make Roaches right now, he's just warping in Zealots. This is really, really catastrophic damage, though, for Zest, since he's lost 30 probes back at home.
Yeah, and it's very hard for Zest to move up that ramp here, because there's the threat of like mass corrosive bites.
But Reynor smells blood in the water here, going for the third base with the Lings, and actually forces a bit of a recall here. I think that's the right move by Zest, because if he loses the economy on this base as well, he's kind of doomed into a super all-in position. But Reynor just bought himself so much time. Yeah. And it's not as if he's in a super bad spot economically.
Hey, look at how he's going to use that, by the way. +2 melee on the way, he gets centrifugal hooks, and he gets pneumatized carapace. So he's like, well, even though you have Blink, you're somewhat low on tech. You don't have any Stargates on the way. If I start dropping Banelings on top of these probes, I've already killed so many of them, I might just get ahead enough to just secure myself map number 1 here. And I think he might very well be right. Zest found some damage though with that cancel on the hatchery.
Yeah, I think Zest is doing everything he can here. Is he going to get another? Oh, will he be able to get the kill here? Oh, he even got it without a cancel there, so that's nice for him. But the 2 probes that were hidden in the main base actually managed to run into that mineral line and take out another 7 probes while all this chaos was going on the other side of the map. This is a crazy start to this series. Like, they're both doing exactly what we wanted to see from them. Zest didn't allow Reynor to just kind of do whatever he wanted, but the same with Reynor. They both play in a similar style that they just go all in, guns blazing.
This is StarCraft 2 played at its highest level here. So much has happened, and we're at 11:30, but they still got so much supply. You know, they traded the best that they could, made really good decisions. I kind of like Reynor evacuating eventually because it felt like he couldn't really win that fight at his 3rd base, and now Zest is on the warpath yet again, getting a position to maybe go for the attack here.
That is so many Ravagers.
The Biles! Oh my god!
He just splattered that army, and Zest just walks through the Biles. He doesn't give a damn about them at all, and there's still so many Ravagers left. Zest, he's just tanking all those Biles. He's trying to micro home against the Banelings as well. This is chaos on both sides.
Reynor, can he hold on this side? The hatchery is very low on hit points. Zest, does he go for the target fire? Corrosive bites are landing all over the place. He's forcing him back. Reynor is zoning this out. A Baneling sneaked inside of his natural and got so many probes in a single detonation here, thanks to +2 melee. Reynor, it looks like he's holding on for now, and if he can push back this army, he's going to be so far ahead.
Zest back at home. He's only mining with 20 probes right now. Does he remake his probes, or does he make Zealots? And he's making Zealots, but he has to make magic happen with this, because Reynor right now must be mining a good 3 or 4 times more than Zest. And yeah, we see that on the income tab right now.
It's a disaster for Zest. I think it's Dark Shrine time here. It might be the only way he can maybe come back in this game, but I would expect Reynor to maybe start sending some more Lings and Banes on the other side of the map and keep on applying pressure, do more damage every single time.
Zest has a nice position here in which he's doing what he can, just using that high ground vision there, just picking and poking and such. But the thing is, every second that goes by is a good second for Reynor. Reynor feeling so confident that he sends some roaches across the map. He's not going to let Zest mine from any one of these bases. Oh, but Zest wrapping around with the Zealots here, trying to get to those juicy roaches and Ravagers, and does give up the base, but I think that was a good give up by Reynor.
17 Banes down. Did I just hear a recall? No. Looks like he's still maybe attacking. As soon as those Banes finish, though, it's going to be amazing against this army. It's mostly Zealots and Stalkers. There's the 3 Immortals, of course. Reynor being very patient. He knows that if he defends here, he's going to be in a fantastic position to open up the scoreboard here. Banelings are going to start unrolling in. He was very patient as well with the connection. Stalkers already blink back, so they can't blink anymore. Banelings connecting big time, and Reynor, look at the supply so far ahead. This is going to be it.
So much supply was lost, and GG. Reynor takes a pretty convincing but scrappy first game against Zest, and he looks happy, man. He does, for sure.
Cheeky smile. He's like, that's it? This is all you got for me?
I mean, I'll give Zest quite a bit of credit there. Like, that early push that he did, it didn't do that much damage, and that push was pretty darn scary, but Reynor just had the perfect balance of, hey, I know I have to respect this push that you're doing, and you could potentially kill me with it, but I'm just going to keep on doing run-bys against you. As soon as you got those Lings into the natural and the main, that's when Zest truly started to fall apart. Granted, a lot of those Biles shouldn't have landed as good as they did, but Reynor did everything right to survive in that situation.
And this Link counter-attack, you know, it looks simple, but it's just perfect in the execution. He always keeps an eye on where the Protoss army is at, and as soon as you start moving out, he's going for it immediately. And, you know, you might think, oh, why wasn't there a Zealot in the wall? Well, that's because Immortals and all of those units, they kind of have to come through at the units that were inside of your main base. So once they do, you have to replace that Zealots, and then you have to stay there up until the point is swapped in, and then you have to hit hold position. A lot of players, they don't really go for these counterattacks like as perfectly as Reynor does, but against Team, if you let that happen even just a single time, you're going to be so far behind that it's going to be extremely hard. If that hadn't happened, though, I do think Zest would have been in a pretty good spot to maybe win this game, because like his economy was really completely wrecked from that, and I think he was doing well up to this point.
Oh, absolutely. I think Reynor just has the perfect balance of distracting his opponent, because you can send lings here, there, and everywhere, but if your Protoss opponent is looking at you doing that, they can hold it pretty darn easily with the correct war pins. But Reynor's just such a master of knowing how to distract his opponent with something else happening on the map, that these little things that he does simultaneously, because he's so quick, are so much harder to hold. It truly is magnificent what this boy can do. And anyway, we are loading up, getting ready into the second game of this series. And so far, the young Italian, he is looking unstoppable in this tournament.
Italian esport has rarely looked this strong. It's when this player is involved in those games, starting in the bottom left-hand side of the map, playing as the Red Zerg, representing Team Clash in Italy. It's Reynor.
And hailing from Korea, one of the best Protoss players to ever walk the planet, it is Zest.
Again, both players currently undefeated in this group. 2-0, both of them. Whoever wins here will have taken a serious option to qualifying for the next round. Obviously, that first place is very important. I think both of them are not only gunning for this win just now, but also for that first place. You're guaranteed top 8 and $10,000.
Absolutely. I mean, playing a second or third place finisher in any one of the other groups, I mean, that could mean a Maru, could mean an Innovation. We don't know who's going to qualify yet and in what position. Avoiding that and being a round extra ahead, such a good spot to be in. And both of these guys, they want to have as little information on them as possible. And also, they don't want to work super duper hard for it, because, I mean, every player in this tournament at this stage is super duper good, and anybody can take out anybody, it feels like.
Yeah, that was Stats and Dark, actually. number 2 and number 3 in the in Group A, so pretty scary to think about. But obviously in the round of 8, it's going to be so stacked anyway. But it's so nice to already have that extra round and not have to play through the round of 12.
Certainly. And map 2, it's World of Sleepers, which for quite a while this has been in the pool, and it's been seen as a very good Zerg map just because of how big it is. It's great for run-bys. When I think about that alone, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, Zest, you didn't veto this map against Reynor, the king of run-bys himself. Zest opens up a fairly similar way, by the way. He goes for the natural block, just making sure it can't happen, and forcing his opponent to go for the third base. And given that he did have a lot of success with the Adepts in the previous games, I'm wondering what he's going to do here, because I've always known Zest as a guy that kind of goes for the same thing in a series just because he knows he's really darn good at it. He's got very good micro, but here it just didn't pan out against the king of run-bys.
Yeah, sometimes those games can come down to like one single wrong decision. I think last game when Zest realized that there was no drones at the expo, he should have stopped shading over there, kind of focused on the main and third base instead, and really tried to go hard for the drones, because even if you could trade like a bunch of Adepts but you end up killing a lot of drones, I think that's way better for you, especially the way he had built up his economy. But of course, I think the biggest mistake was obviously letting the links in, which I think he's going to be a lot more careful with here in this game.
And we do see a similar build so far for Zest in the Twilight Council first and the Robo. Reynor respecting his opponent, he's getting Link speed and he's getting the Overlord speed, but Zest so far, yeah, he's sticking with the same build almost. Maybe he'll change little bits here and there. One tweak can make the whole strategy seem totally different, but this is one thing that pro gamers tend to know about Zest. If he feels that something is good, he will go for it time and time again, which makes him a more comfortable player to play against. Even though he's in your face all the time, knowing what your opponent is doing before anything happens in the game, that is such an advantage.
Yeah, Reynor is getting the Roach Warren. I really like the choice of Numatized Carapace here. I think without that, he wouldn't have been able to get much of a scout. Kind of surprised he's not sending the Overlord in just yet. He kind of just flew around for a second so that there was no gas on the expansion.
I think that's a massive bit of info, right? Like, if you don't take that third and fourth gas, you can pretty much limit it down to, okay, it's not DTs. And then as he flies into this main base, he's going to see the Adepts as they warp in. So it's not as if the Warp Prism's even going to hide the tech choice or the unit choice. It's, yeah, you're doing the same thing to me. Which that Roach Warren finishes right now. 7 Roaches being produced. It's probably going to be a bit more as well. But that Dark Shrine definitely makes this build a little bit different.
Did he spot it? I don't think. Yeah, it's just outside of vision. If he checks a little bit above, that would be nice. Actually, that's a great mind game by Zest. If Reynor gets a little bit sloppy with the scouting here, because Reynor sees the same opener as last game. He's like, all right, here we go again. Mass Adepts. What do you get against Mass Adepts? You need to focus on getting a ton of links and roaches. You're not really thinking, oh, I need spores for detection. So even though that Overlord is inside of his main base right now, Reynor has no lair on the way. If he doesn't realize that there is a Dark Shrine about to finish and it's very close to finishing, he might just die to DTs.
I mean, that could very well happen. Zest right now, he just wants to deal as much damage as possible, but also distract for as long as possible. Where is that aggressive Warp Prism that he has on the other side of the map, by the way? It must still be knocking around somewhere. In fact, he's making another Warp Prism.
He lost it?
Did it die?
That's what the map was trying to show us.
It did, to one of the Queens here, which is a crucial error.
God.
That Dark Shrine's finished. It hasn't been scouted. There aren't Spore Crawlers.
So he has to warp in on his side of the map. That's going to take forever now to cross the map. Lair now starts.
That's a massive...
That would have been the game one if he didn't lose the Prism, I think.
And right now, there's still no Spores in production, right? I don't think there's anyone in any of the bases.
It's going for Lair.
Oh no, this could be dramatic. I mean, that Lair isn't even halfway finished yet. And DTs are going to show up in great numbers pretty darn soon. Does Reynor see this blur on the map?
I think he saw it, yeah. He starts a bunch of Spores. He's going to try to protect them here with units, trying to push the Dark Templar away so that he can't attack the Spore as soon as those are finished. All you need is to have units in position, but it's not working. Onto that third base here. The Spore is going to go down. There's a backup one here.
Did he surround the DT at the third base with the drones and such? Just
that one's going to finish.
Yeah.
So I guess he can't mine from the natural, and he's probably going to lose that as well. But look, now the Lair is close to finishing.
But the thing is, he's going to lose his natural. This is a heavy investment in the DTs, and we ask ourselves, is this worth it? And I believe it super is for Zest. Back at home, there's no third base on the way. He is adding more gateways, more adepts, and +1 weapons as well. But this was a crucial slip-up for Reynor because that Overlord in the main base, it was right next to where the Dark Shrine was. The fact that he didn't scout for it, that is just... It's a little bit sloppy by Reynor, but it was a nice move by Zest, and it just shows you how much pressure you put Reynor under.
That was funny. Those DTs, they were hacking away at the hatchery, and they were like, looking at the Queen, am I a joke to you? So just killed it.
And the Archon follow-up as well. This is one of the nice things about the DT tech. Even if the DT tech fails, you can turn to Archons afterwards, which are a pretty darn good unit when accompanied with the Warp Prism. But when the Dark Shrines don't fail at all and they continue to deal damage, taking out the natural and such, this is just a really tricky spot for Reynor to recover from.
And now Zest knows that Reynor is going into a lot of roaches, which is the standard against this. He has to work on his immortal counts. We see one in production. He's going to have to get many in a row, make sure he chrono boosts them. I love that he's already getting the +1, building up a little bit of a sentry count as well. And Reynor is in a tricky position. Like, what does he do? Does he try to drone back up and play a normal game, or does he just mass roaches and tries to go for a timing maybe before there's enough immortals?
That Archon, I think he's only got 1 health or something like that. But no, you're right, Todd. In this kind of situation, we're going to need Reynor to play either super duper perfectly or make some crazy risky decisions, because right now it's not that great for him. Does he go for something very low cost like Swarm Host that can trade very efficiently? Because right now Zest, he's taking his third base and it's on that rich Vespane Geyser location where if you get enough Mortals and Archons together, roaches do not last very long against that comp.
Maybe he hasn't decided yet. Like, it feels like you need to be very adaptable in this kind of game, right? Like, even if you have a game plan, you need to be able to deviate at any moment, make a split-second decision and be like, okay, well, I need to go for that instead. You don't have to be exactly set on one single thing you're going to do, because otherwise, if the opponent figures it out and counters you properly, you're always going to lose pretty much. But in this game, Reynor is going for +2 missile right now. He's still making a ton of units. He's probably worried about some sort of follow-up attack.
And I think that's what it's going to be as well. I mean, Zest, that's what he does. He attacks you. And so far, it's been working out well for him in his career. I mean, he's one of the biggest legends that we have. And right now, Reynor, it is such a tough spot because it seems like whatever decision you make at this point, it feels like the wrong one because your opponent, he's richer than you, he's got better tech than you. It's just a very, very difficult spot for Reynor.
He's just massing units. There's no additional tech, no Hydralis Den. No infestation pit. It's just going to be lings and roaches. Clear reconstitution is actually really late here. I think he forgot about that for a while.
I think you're right. The fact that +2 weapons is so far along for him, and that roach speed isn't even remotely done, and this attack is coming at him, and that is a huge attack by Zest, but he's paying respect to these Roaches and Ravagers. Oh, and a DT goes to the main base while all this is happening. Zest has been playing a beautiful game, this one.
Yeah, that's actually really smart here. It's very hard for Zerg to not be extremely worried and have all of their units at the third base ready to fight against the big attack that's coming up, and then react on time against this with some good split. And Zest doesn't even need to actually attack here. Like, by doing that, he forced a ton of Roaches and Lynx here on the other side of the map. So if he can just take his time, maybe go back home and max out himself, he's going to be at a big disadvantage in terms of having a higher tier or higher quality army himself.
Yeah, as soon as Reynor hits these upgrades with the range missile and also the Roach speed finally, his army isn't really going to get any better. You can see that he's getting a pretty decent bank together as well to kind of re-max on it most likely. But Zest, his army just gets better with time, so as long as he survives, he's going to be looking quite pretty against this army. But Reynor, we've seen him make magic happen in the past. Can he do it again here?
Zest is out of position. He's going to come in from the left side here. Reynor sees it. How does he do this? Does he pull back? He's spamming corrosive bites here to make sure that Zest can take full-on engagement. Good force fields. He's going to trap a lot of his Roaches there.
Oh, and he reapplies the force fields as well. And Reynor's army is melting against this strong, stocky Protoss army. But there's a lot of Zerg still here, making Lings back at home. He's still got quite a bank to spend, though. And this army of Zest is just kind of marching down Reynor. Both of them take some losses, but Reynor definitely took more there.
He's actually looking to try and fight more. Oh my god.
Wow.
This has happened in a previous game as well.
Zest wasn't good at dodgeball in high school, I can tell you that, because he has been loving catching those biles in this series and his previous series as well.
I think he's just kind of losing patience. He's like, okay, I'm going to cut you off, I can't let you retreat. But the thing is, against that many Ravagers, you can't really do that because the biles, they end up landing and you take way too much damage from them.
Now Reynor's adding on quite a lot of Banelings to his composition, which I like, because Roaches and Ravagers, they're great against Archons and great against a lot of the units that Zest has, but Banelings, they just get rid of that meat shield front line in terms of Zealots, and if they can run into your army without attack moving them, they act like a bit of a tank, because even if they die to the Protoss, they still deal the damage. And that is a really good meat shield, as weird as it sounds, against the Protoss army.
Also, have you seen Zest? There's no way this guy played dodgeball in school. He was on the lacrosse team.
He was busy doing the swimming, you know, and doing the weightlifting or what have you. But yeah, Zest trying to just buy time here. He isn't taking a... In fact, he does have a fourth Nexus, which is kind of crazy. I mean, he's in a much better economic situation. Reynor, though, he's not super all-in with the composition that he's making. We did see in that crazy game yesterday with, or rather the day before, Lambo against Trap, where he actually smashed a huge tech army of Protoss with just this composition. But he does have a fourth base himself. Does need to max out, though. And we do see that he is a little bit supply blocked.
He's setting up
the Overlords.
Setting up a multi-pronged attack here.
Whoa.
So many Archons to tank a lot of this damage here. Banelings are going to start coming in here. If they can't get big detonation, this is going to be very hard for Reynor to win this. So many Immortals are left over. A lot of Zest army got blown up here, but he's still got a big army to fight with, and I think he might have enough.
Oh, that was so many Banelings, but Zest, he just doesn't give a damn, and GG, Zest ties up the series 1-1. These guys, they are nicely matched one on it.
Yeah.
Like, they are just two boxers in a ring, just punching each other blindly in the face. But Zest, he played very well that game, but that one little error by Reynor, not seeing, or not even remotely knowing that DTs were going to be on the way. I think Reynor just maybe got a little bit cocky, thinking, this is a really big investment, I shut it down, killing the first Warp Prism.
He must have thought he was so far ahead after he killed the Prism, for sure. If there had not been a Dark Shrine, I think that would have been the case, but he wasn't thorough enough with the Overlord inside of the main base. He was literally just sitting there, not scouting the corner of that main base where the Dark Shrine was. And if he had seen that, he would have made a Spore on time, I think, in each of his bases and been in a very good spot, in my opinion.
Oh, super good spot. I mean, the fact that he lost the base there and lost a lot of drones as well, that just put him in a really bad situation. I'm impressed by the fact that he managed to come back as much as he did, but Zest held on to his lead and didn't really make too many mistakes. He didn't allow Reynor to dictate the pace of the game. Like, there was no Ling run bys because Reynor, he was just trying to stay alive the whole time, and it was Zest that really had Reynor in the position that you wanted him to be in.
Very impressive performance here from both players up to this point. Again, they're both 2-0 currently in the group and battling for that first place spot here after the third match. Obviously, there still would be more that they have to play after this. Since we got groups of 6 players.
And remember, after this, Reynor has some really difficult opponents left in Rogue and Sue. And I do feel that if there is a matchup that Reynor might be a bit like, this is a bit problematic, it's Rogue and Sue that could definitely deliver that to him. I mean, they've both been 2 of the best Korean Zergs that we've seen. I know Reynor's on another level right now in regards to what he's been in like over a year ago and stuff, but any Zergs can give you a lot of trouble, so this win means a lot to both of these guys.
All right, let's jump into map number 3 here. We're going to be playing on Ephemeron. Starting in the bottom right-hand side of the map, playing as the Red Zerg representing Clash, it's Reynor.
And playing in the top left, playing for Team Raise Your Edge, it is Zest.
You know, Reynor actually, he beats Armani, who beats Sue. So, does that mean anything?
Do you know there's always been these style clashes, right? In like every RTS game that we've seen. I remember back in the day where MVP was really damn good, but Polt would kind of beat MVP. But then MMA would beat Polt, but then MVP would beat MMA, and it was like, how does this even make sense? All you guys, like, these weird style clashes that you have, so...
The triangle, the rock, paper, scissors players.
Yes, if you beat the guy that's potentially the best, does that mean you beat everybody else too? Absolutely not. Like, we've seen that happen time and time again. Ephemeron going in as, like, the 3rd map of the series, this is one that I really enjoy, actually. It's very open, like, a natural 3 bases, like the ones that you take. You don't take any other different stuff. So for a Protoss, knowing like if you can block the natural, blocking the 3rd can play a really big role in this game, given that it's very predictable where they're going to expand to. But are we going to see the same opening from Zest again? Because I mean, so far the Adept portion of the attack hasn't worked out for him at all. It's all about the follow-ups, it feels like, against Reynor. And if he doesn't make mistakes against you, and it feels like your strategy kind of relies on the opponent making mistakes, that's a ballsy one to go for.
Yeah, I expect Reynor to be more thorough with the scouting here. This is not necessarily a map where he will have to go into Pneumatized Carapace if he wants to scout. But maybe.
Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows?
Wow, okay, he's going for a metabolic boost.
I also, we haven't seen that many or that much early Adept harass. Oh, and we do see a Stargate from Zest this game, so he's mixing it up, which is nice. Plonks it right on the edge of his base, which, if an Overlord happens to get a little bit lucky over there, can see it very, very quickly and easily.
Yeah, I think he might just be trying to surprise Reynor if like he's a little bit sloppy with his scouting, you know, and we saw what happens when you're not ready for like some of these oracles and you start losing a bunch of drones. It can be pretty bad.
I think one thing as well, like the mineral lines are fairly exposed, right? Like if you attack this natural with the Oracle, you can fly down the right side of the map and immediately attack these minerals. Kind of same with the 3rd base, actually. You can just fly in from the bottom side and you're immediately at the minerals again. So you can definitely abuse the fact that the mineral lines are on the edges of the map, which makes it very nice. Zest right now just trying to scout what's up, just making Reynor's life a little bit tricky. And just making sure that he's being honest with his Zergling camp, because if you see that they've skimped and they're only on 2 or 4 or something, those Adepts can definitely get some damage done.
Yeah, Pneumatized Carapace being on the way here. I guess he's going to want to scout in a second, but that first Oracle is going to be so early. If Zest synergizes those 2 Adepts, ooh, he actually cancels here. I thought he might actually go for it to try and get some of these drones.
Did you see as well, Reynor kept his Zergling count hidden there. He wasn't like, okay, I'm going to dive on these Adepts and maybe kill 1 with the Zerglings. He really wanted to keep it at bay.
Oh, he's going to catch the Stalker?
Oh, do you see this? He was using the Overlord for vision here, just trying to get those units out of there. Now, oh, there's no Spore Crawler against the Oracle. This is really bad for Reynor, and quite a late pull as well, dealing quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and now Reynor is scouting the main base. He sees the Stargate, but he already knew because there's an Oracle on the other side of the map killing his drones. 2nd Oracle is out. The 3rd one is already on the way. And Reynor needs to get a bunch of spores. He needs to get more queens here. Make sure that he's ready for the defense.
That was definitely some nice gaming by Zest here, but Reynor like just kind of got caught with his pants down here. Like the fact that he didn't get the scout on the Stargate despite going for the Overlord speed, and the Oracle arrived so darn quickly. Or even getting a queen caught between the bases, and this comes down to that earlier creep tumor being killed here as well. So Zest is playing really well so far in this game.
I think he's looking to try and snowball from there because he's been warping in at depths very consistently. We see no transition, no tech being dropped down from here yet. So he knows that he's killed a queen, a bunch of drones, that those are going to have to be replaced. And he's like, well, I might just be able to attack maybe with my adepts in a second and inflict more damage as well. Yeah, he's positioning forward now. It's so scary, like, right? Imagine he shades inside of the third base and flies elsewhere with the Oracle. Like the queens, they have to choose where they go exactly.
I feel Reynor's done well with his unit composition and where he's placing his units, though. Like the Lings and the Queens, in combination against these Oracles and Adepts, they do win out. And the fact that he postured very aggressively outside his base with the Queens and then followed with the Lings, he just made it difficult for Zest to really go for anything. But the thing is, Zest doesn't really... Oh, okay.
Not again.
For a second there, I didn't see that Stalker. I was like, what is that? Is that wall open?
Zest probably clicked there as well. He was like, oh!
Yeah, I mean, gets your blood pumping, dude, these Lings. But +1 melee starts for Reynor. I mean, that's fairly normal, right? Gets the Roach Warren going along too. Right now, they're both going into very normal tech options. Wow, he's being so brazen against this queen.
Yeah, gonna sacrifice one of these oracles.
I mean, I was about to say, one queen for an oracle? That's not a good trade for Zest at all. Wow, only gets one of them back home. Maybe got a bit excited there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm so nervous. Like, this is crazy. Oh, that's decent. Oh, maybe did it on purpose, actually. Left the one with energy back there just so he could do that. I totally forgot about the stasis trap usage on this map as well, by the way. We can see these two oracles just be a nuisance throughout the game.
With so much space behind those minerals, it's definitely easy to kind of come in and use that outside of the range of the Spore. Do it kind of safely, and it forces Zerg to really be on point. If they make a mistake a single time, they could get a lot of these drones trapped and prevent it from mining. But yeah, it's yet again gonna be a very similar style here out of Reynor. He's going into +1 melee. This lines up very well with the Banelingless finishing there eventually, and then actually in this game he already has Pneumatized Carpe, so if he wants to drop down the line, that's gonna be very easy for him to do that with this.
Reynor's been doing a really good job of reapplying the creep spread. Given that how aggressive Zest was posturing with like the Adepts on the map, the Oracles on the map, it was very hard to get the creep spread out. Now it's getting a little bit wild, but we do see that there's barely any creep at that fourth base, and Reynor knows it too, so he tries to spread it with the Overlords, then spreading it with the Queens, because Zest, he's on the march across the map, and this is quite a scary army.
I don't even think there's an observer there. So like this creep is actually amazing. Yeah, well, there's the single one, which is now heading across the map.
Oh,
I think he has to evacuate this fourth, maybe.
Wow, that was a lot of force fields for one queen, but also a lot of transfuse energy trying to keep it alive. This fourth base, will he cancel it? He does. He knows that he can't really fight here so far off the creep, so that creep spread just a little bit too slow, but Reynor realized where Zest's next point of attack was, tried to react in time, but Zest, he's just so active and like...
Those Lings are tagged. He's still running around. It's like, I can see you, mate. Like,
the cannon and the shield battery in the mineral line, they're definitely good things to have. This Oracle combined with the cannon, though, does deal with them pretty darn well. And these probes microed very well for Zest. These Lings were sleeping a little bit there, but this is all a nuisance. And wow, only lost 3 probes against that.
And +2 melee is now on the way. Centrifugal Hook is going to start for those Banelings. Zest is going for Storm, is going for +2. I think if he's able to just kind of sit around and mask for a bit, doesn't really trade or suffer losses, he's going to be in a pretty good spot to move across the map and try and take a good fight. He's only lost 6 units this game. What did he lose?
Maybe, well, the 3 probes and then, 2 Oracles and a Zealot.
That's very cost effective, oh my god.
Oh, I love this though. I feel that in a lot of games in ZVP, we don't see enough Baneling drops happen anymore. And we talked about how the, exposed mineral lines can mean a lot for Oracles. They also mean a lot for these Baneling drops.
He's not even going to wait to be sure that Zest is busy across the map macroing something. The Overlord's going to come in. Zest with no reaction. Yeah, Reynor was keeping him busy with Lings on the fourth base.
Wow.
So that's where Zest was looking, and now 13 probes get blown up just like that in an instant.
And we talked about this earlier. Reynor's so good at distracting his opponent with the run-bys, but the same skill applies to doing these Baneling drops. And if Zest now knows that's a threat, Reynor's got himself into a pretty decent spot this game. Look at his supply already, and the fact that he's already been committed to so many Banelings, I think he's in a pretty dangerous spot here.
Yeah, Zest usually from there pretty much always does the same thing. He goes into Blink, starts transitioning into Stalkers to have a lot of additional damage. And with the amount of sentries that he has here, it's just a 3, but they've built up on energy very nicely. He has some good fighting capability to synergize the force fields with the storms. But stepping on creep is always so scary, and Reynor is incredibly good at setting up multi-pronged engagements here.
Oh,
he's gonna come in from both sides here. Storms do a ton of damage.
They really do, and the Roaches and Ravagers get wrapped around all of this. Zest, in the meantime, is fighting and trying to kill the 5th base of Reynor. The units of Reynor are kind of getting demolished over here, and Zest, there is so much action happening on the map. The Banelings, wow, great splits with the Stalkers as well, minimizing that damage, and that Archon just tanked them all in the face. More Warpins coming in, and Reynor has to retreat here, and meanwhile, loses 5th, or rather 4th base, I think, in the meantime.
Yeah, Reynor's trying to regroup here. He needs more Roaches, ideally, against this. He needs to cut against these Zealots. The Stalkers are gonna blink on top of Banelings that are morphing. Banelings not gonna finish on time here. Zest, is he doing this here with this attack? He's reinforcing straight into the fight with so many Zealots. The Queens couldn't reach the Prism either.
Oh, and you see it on the face of Reynor. He smiled a little bit there, realizing, oh, I didn't buy all that Warp Prism. I did save my life here. The drones fighting back against the Zealots, but I don't think they can cut it. There is just so much Zesty, and Reynor, oh, he knows what's happened to him this game. Smiling away is the young Italian, and GG, Zest takes a very impressive victory over Reynor.
A very impressive and a very important one.